Many people often compare themselves to others and wonder, why am I not like them? This makes us feel unhappy. In today's era of technological advancement, with apps like TikTok and Instagram, this habit of comparison has become even more common. The story of the crow below will help us understand this issue more clearly. One day, a crow saw a beautiful white swan swimming in the lake. The people around admired the swan while they shooed the crow away. Feeling sad, the crow thought that if it had white feathers like the swan, perhaps it would be happier. However, when the crow asked the swan, it discovered that the swan was also unhappy because it was kept in captivity. The crow continued to meet a parrot and then a peacock, but each of them had their own suffering. In the end, the crow realized that its freedom was the most precious thing and decided to accept itself. One day, a crow was flying in the sky and landed on a tree branch. From there, it saw a white swan swimming in the lake. The swan's pure white feathers caught the attention of the people, who came closer to admire and praise its beauty. The crow felt curious and flew closer to the swan. But as soon as the people saw the crow, they immediately shooed it away. The crow thought maybe they were afraid it would dirty the place. Feeling sad, the crow flew away and landed on another branch, but the people still disliked it and continued to chase it away. The crow felt hurt when it realized that people loved the swan because of its pure white feathers, while it was hated for its black feathers. Heavy-hearted, the crow left the village and flew deep into the forest. It perched on a tree branch and began to cry. While crying, the crow blamed itself. People hate me because I have ugly black feathers. If I had white feathers like the swan, surely I would be loved and feel happier. At that moment, an old crow flew by and saw the young crow crying. It asked, "Why are you so sad?" The young crow replied, "I hate my ugly black feathers. No one likes me." Hearing this, the old crow smiled and asked, "If you could choose to become any bird, who would you want to look like?" The young crow immediately answered, "I want to be like the swan. Everyone loves it." The old crow nodded and said, "In this forest there is a magical spring. If you bathe in it with a pure heart, you can change your appearance. But before doing that, try asking the swan if it is truly happy." The young crow agreed and flew back to the lake. It approached the swan and asked, "Swan, you must be the happiest bird in the village. You have beautiful white feathers, and everyone loves you. Are you happy?" The swan lowered its head and said, "Thank you for the compliment. But I am not truly happy. People keep me as a pet, and I cannot fly freely. When I grow old, they might kill me for my meat. I don't know if I will still be alive tomorrow." The young crow was utterly surprised. It realized that even the swan had its own suffering. After hearing the swan's story, the young crow was shocked. It had always thought that the swan was the happiest bird because of its beautiful white feathers and human admiration. But it turned out that the swan had its own worries. It was kept in captivity and might even be killed for meat when it aged. The young crow, feeling confused, asked, "If you are not happy, then in your opinion, which bird is the happiest?" The swan thought for a moment and then replied, "I think the parrot is the happiest bird. They have more colorful feathers than I do, and humans don't eat them." Hearing this, the young crow became curious and decided to fly off in search of a parrot. After some time, the crow saw a parrot perched on a tree branch. The crow flew closer and asked, "Hello, parrot. You have beautiful, colorful feathers. You must be the happiest bird, right?" The parrot sighed and replied, "My beautiful feathers are actually the reason for my unhappiness. Because of my bright appearance, humans capture me as pets and keep me in cages for life. I cannot fly freely like you." After hearing this, the young crow became even more surprised. It had never thought that the parrot, the bird that the swan envied, also suffered because of captivity. The crow continued to ask, "Then, in your opinion, which bird is the happiest?" The parrot thought for a moment and replied, "Perhaps the peacock. People love its dazzling feathers, and they never keep it in small cages like me." Hearing this, the young crow decided to fly to a zoo to meet a peacock. When it arrived, it saw the peacock spreading its magnificent feathers in front of many visitors. Everyone admired and praised its beauty. The young crow flew closer and asked, "Hello, peacock. You have the most brilliant feathers of all birds. Surely you must be the happiest bird in the world?" The peacock looked at the crow, gently shook its head, and said, "No, my friend, I am not happy. People love my feathers, but they also pluck them to sell. They pull out my feathers, and it is very painful, yet I cannot do anything to stop them." Hearing this, the young crow was completely astonished. It realized that even the peacock, the most beautiful bird, had its own suffering. The lesson to be learned is that everyone has their own struggles, and comparing ourselves only makes us more miserable. Instead, we should be grateful and cherish what we have.